Velta Reed-Johnston was a farm girl raised in McLean County. She graduated from Wayne High School among a class of 39 students, and her initial path in life was inspired by one of her teachers.
So I guess it really goes back to high school with Mrs. Wallace, who was my home ec teacher for 4 years. I thought that was a pretty neat job.
Velta taught in Forgan, Washington, and then Hera, where she took an interest in the administration side of education. At that time, it was a field traditionally headed by men. She decided the best way to start gaining ground was to go directly to the superintendent.
I walked in and introduced myself and said, I want to be an administrator someday. What are your suggestions? And he kindly took me under his wing and said the first thing you need to do is go enroll in the doctoral program and get your certifications. I loved teaching, but I knew I didn't want to teach forever. And I really, I guess, kind of always second guessed some of my administrators and thought I could do a better job. I'm bossy.
True to form, Velta completed those requirements and became the first female administrator in Hera Public Schools, and it only grew from there. In 1979, she was hired to help build Eastern Oklahoma Technology Center from the ground up as the Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Programs.
Used the State Department of CareerTech, and I asked them to identify programs across the state that were exemplary programs that I could visit and talk to the instructors about equipment, about all the things needed. So basically, I just emulated what was going on in the other schools that were really good.
Meanwhile, outside the tech centers, there were more challenges. She was widowed in her early 30s and raised her 2 stepchildren when their mother passed away. And at 41, she was diagnosed with cancer.
I offered to resign because I thought, there's a job to be done. And the board president said, no way. You did not ask for the disease. You go get well and come back. And I've carried that through as an administrator in how I dealt with people who got sick. And for my chemo, I had to be hospitalized. But I worked from the hospital because I was not that sick. I held meetings with people from the State Department and the State Department of Ed, and I said, if they can talk to me in a nightgown, I can do business. So I carried on.
And so, despite those hardships, her career continued. In 1984, Velta became the first female superintendent in the CareerTech system. She was breaking glass ceilings, all the while supported by CareerTech pioneer, Dr. Frances Tuttle.
Dr. Tuttle told me later that the board president called and said, Frances, our best candidate is a woman. What do we do? And he said, you hire her. So, if that kind of does that give you a feel for, if Dr. Tuttle says she's okay, she's okay. And my parents raised me to believe that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. If I wanted to, I could do it. I kind of looked around and I saw a lot of men who were in administration, and I kind of thought I could do a better job, or at least as good a job. And I also figured out they retired a whole lot better financially than old teachers.
Johnston retired as Pioneer Technology Center Superintendent in 1997 after more than 30 years of service to the Oklahoma CareerTech system. But she didn't slow down. Today, Velta devotes her time and administrative talents to the retirement village where she resides in Yukon.
I'm chairman of the board here at Spanish Cove. It keeps me quite involved. Not only deal, in charge of board meetings, but work pretty closely with the CEO. Once a superintendent, I guess always a superintendent.
As Velta blazed her own trail into the world of education administration, she always kept her eyes forward to what her legacy would mean to other women who would follow in her footsteps.
That was always something that was in the back of my mind was, if you mess up, no other woman may get a chance. I am so thrilled to look and see how many women now are superintendents in the CareerTech.
Congratulations to Velta Reed-Johnston, 2024 inductee into the CareerTech Hall of Fame.